Hey everybody, welcome back to another episode of Arguably Correct. I'm Lindsay and I've been perusing the Best of Redditor updates subreddit. It's GD good, okay? This is from the TIFU, so today I effed up, by accidentally learning my coworker's salary and now I can't stop doing math during meetings. I have so many opinions and hot takes on this. I think they're hot takes. This happened to, this was originally posted April 10th, so not that long ago. This happened 2 weeks ago and it has been eating me alive. I work in an open office. My coworker Greg sits directly across from me. Our monitors face each other. I have never once looked at his screen on purpose. I want to make that clear because what happened was entirely an accident, but also entirely his fault. Let's say, we'll be the judge of that. You and I, my YouTube piece, okay? Greg got up to go to the bathroom and left his screen unlocked. People do this, normal. I don't care. But he left a PDF open and it was zoomed to like 400%. I don't know why anyone would zoom a PDF to 400%, but Greg did. And because of that, I could read it from 4 feet away without even trying. Lucky you. Something could be 3,000 zoom and I can't see it from here. But anyway, it was his offer letter from when he was hired with his salary in 48-point font, basically. He makes $31,000 more than me. I'm going to assume this is an annual salary. We have the same title, same team. He started 8 months after me. I trained him. I trained the man who makes $31,000 more than me. I showed him how to use our project management tool. I walked him through the client onboarding process. I sat with him for 2 hours explaining our filing system, which honestly, even I don't fully understand, but I pretended I did because I was his mentor, and he makes $31,000 more than me. I cannot stop doing the math now. Every meeting we're together, I'm actually calculating. Okay, this meeting is 1 hour. He's making X per hour. I'm making Y per hour. The difference between us sitting in the same meeting, listening to the same person talk about Q3 projections is $14.90. I am losing $14.90 of relative value every hour I sit next to Greg. I've started a spreadsheet. I know this is unhinged. The spreadsheet has columns. Is OP like manic? The worst part is Greg is good at his job. He's not some fails on coasting on nepotism. I don't even know what that means, but he's competent. He's pleasant. He brings in those little stroopwafel cookies for the office on Fridays. Well, you know what, OP? How dare you now? He has never done a single thing wrong to me. This man is my friend. I went to his birthday dinner last month. I bought him a gift with my lesser salary. I cannot. Editor's note, stroopwafel is Dutch for syrup waffle, a traditional Dutch treat involving of 2 thin, crispy waffle cookies held together by a gooey caramel syrup filling. I looked up his job posting from when he was hired. It listed the salary range. The range started at what I make and went up to what he makes. So technically we're both in range. I'm just at the bottom and he's at the top. Same range, same title, different ends. Like 2 people on the same bus, except he's in first class and I'm sitting on the wheel. I know I should negotiate. I know I should talk to my manager. And I know the mature thing to do is to advocate for myself. But instead, I've been silently tracking the cumulative salary gap between me and Greg in a Google sheet that I have named Greg Data and password protected, even though nobody would ever want to look at it. We're at $6,100 since I found out. 14 working days. I'll stop tracking it when I get a raise or when I lose my mind. And honestly, at this point, it's a coin flip. I'm concerned. Greg just offered me a stroopwafel. I took it. It was delicious. That makes it worse somehow. This can, like, I need a button. This cannot be real button, because I feel like I say that multiple times every time I'm reading these stories. Okay, so that was the end of it. Well, that was the end of the original post. Now, first of all, I'm going to just say a couple things and then I'm going to move on to the actual update and maybe read some comments. Now, I just want to say, this is crazy. This is actually, like, I don't know how somebody can type this out and think that this is, like, appropriate. I mean, I'm sure they don't. That's why they came to Reddit. Let's be for real. But this is something that my father, he said to me when I was a kid to, like, never compare yourself to other people. Like, there's two things. One, I can't say this on a YouTube video, I don't think. I mean, I guess I can. People will say far worse, but you cannot compare yourself to people, and you cannot do this. This is crazy. This is the reason why this mentality is gonna be the downfall and why you never really do better in life. If you have this type of mentality, that's insane. When I was young, I'm gonna say it. When I was young, I don't know why or whatever prompted my father to impart this piece of wisdom on me, but I'm glad he did because all these years later, I remember it and it rings true. This was the first thing I thought of when I was reading this story. So for whatever reason, like that piece of advice really stuck with me. And I think it was actually, I know why. But what he would say to us, or me, probably my brother too, what they eat don't make you shit. And that's as disgusting as it is. Hear me out. That's probably why I remembered it, honestly. But it's true. Like, what other people do has no bearing on your life. You cannot go around conducting yourself like this, especially at work. Like, you train this guy. Who's to say, like, you didn't just train your replacement and your manager was gonna give you a higher position and you were gonna get some, like, I don't know, like that, maybe that's a little far-fetched. Maybe OP would have had a better feeling if that was gonna be happening in the situation, but you don't know. And you don't know what doors are closing so other ones can open. You cannot act like this. He doesn't say how old he is, but I'd be very curious. I would bet that he's probably young. He's probably on the younger side. All right, let's move on to the update. So we do have an update. This was 5 days later from the original post. People wanted an update, so here it is. Short one, because honestly, I'm still processing. First, the math. A lot of you pointed out that a $31,000 annual gap over 14 working days is not $6,100. It's about $1,700. I had a formula error on the spreadsheet. The spreadsheet I built specifically to track numbers. Greg data has been corrected. Maybe this is why Greg makes more money than you. I don't know. Just a thought. I left the old column in there labeled wrong because I think I deserve to look at it every time I open the file. Someone commented, this is why Greg makes more money than you. And yeah, that's fair. Okay. He's somehow very self-aware and unhinged all at once, and kudos. Now, many of you were convinced Greg left his offer letter open on purpose, that nobody zooms to a PDF on 400% by accident. I kept telling myself, no, that's crazy. That's a conspiracy theory about a man who brings cookies to work on Fridays, and then Monday happened. Monday, I'm at my desk, and Greg walks over and put a coffee down in front of me. Not near me, in front of me, like a delivery. And then he goes, hey, so you doing anything about the pay thing? I need you to understand something. I have never said a single word to Greg about his salary, not one. I did not tell him I saw the offer letter. I did not tell him about the spreadsheet. I have told no one at work about any of this. Yeah, I would hope not. And this man walks up to me on a Monday morning with a coffee and says, the pay thing, like we've been having this conversation for weeks. I said, what pay thing? And he looked at me for a second like he was waiting for my brain to catch up with the rest of reality. And then he said, never mind, and walked away. Never mind? He said, never mind. Like he'd asked me if I wanted lunch and I said no. I've been thinking about that never mind every single day since. So 5 days. I added a tab in Greg data called evidence. No, see, like this is not real or you're manic or there's something wrong. I'm not going to say what's in it because if I'm wrong about all this, I will need to move to another state. Okay, maybe, I don't know. I also need to mention Ting Ting. Is this an app? Ting Ting sits, oh no. No, it's not an app. It's not. I don't know why. The way it's like capital, I don't know why I thought it was like an app that like their company uses. I don't know. Geez, I was way off on that. Ting Ting sits 2 rows over and leaves at exactly 5 o'clock every day, not around 5, at 5. If there was a fire alarm at 4:59, Ting Ting would evacuate and then not come back at 5 because her day is over. She is the most reliable person I have ever met, and I say that with complete sincerity. She becomes relevant later. Wednesday morning, I get to my desk and there's a stroopwafel sitting on it. One stroopwafel, one on a napkin, no note. I sat there looking at it for a while, and then I opened Greg Data and added a new column. The column is called Day of the Week. The first entry says Wednesday. I highlighted it in yellow because it felt important. I don't know what it means yet, but I'm watching. Greg, if you're reading this, I am on to you, I think. What does Ting Ting have to do with any of this? She becomes relevant later, but she didn't. Let's read some comments. Maybe this will shed some light because I'm like betting on this isn't a real story or something is weird with this. These are like top comments that were posted here. So, you going to do anything about the pay thing? OP says, actually, yeah, I have a meeting with my manager tomorrow. We'll see how that goes. That's insane. Commenter 2, Ting Ting did in fact not become relevant later. What's the relevance for Ting Ting? I must know. Also, that's never mind, was definitely Greg realizing he gave you too much credit. Poor Greg. Yeah. OP says, oh, Ting Ting is relevant. Trust me, I'm just not ready to talk about that part yet. Maybe next update. We're going to read some comments. Some people said 100% knows and he is trying without speaking to let you know. Who else would leave their pay stub on their screen, zoomed in 400% knowing full well you can see his monitor? As you said, you two are friends and your friend is telling you to nut up and go to management for more money. Obsessing over details like the spreadsheet is only going to start the seed of resentment. I think the seed of resentment has been planted and is sprouted and is on its way to being a beautiful little plant, okay? Towards your friend. The same friend telling you to go for the raise. You're too caught up in the dollar sign and feeling slighted to actually see the message. He probably agonized over this and likely feels worse. A closed mouth doesn't get fed. Now go get that raise. I don't know. I hard disagree with this. I don't think this is something that you bring up to your manager like, hey, I know how much he makes now and now I want more money. I just don't think that's the way you go about things in the professional world. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe that's like a more corporate thing. That like super corporate, like big time corporate. I don't have experience with that. So maybe I'll give that part, maybe I'm ignorant to that. But I just don't think this is the way you go about life, honestly. Like walking around saying like, hey, they have this, so what can I get? Like that, like that's just crazy to me. That's a wild mentality and probably a far more common mentality in today's society. And that's a big problem, if you ask me. But I also, to play devil's advocate here, because it's just me and I got to play both sides, I do understand, like, closed mouths don't get fed. If you're a manager, if this guy's been there, did he say how long he was there? Yeah, he's been there 2 years. Okay, he doesn't say how long that he's been there for at this point. I mean, I guess it's all kind of with relative. He says that he started 8 months after me, so I don't know. We'll leave it at that. But maybe your manager is just lax. Maybe they don't, I don't know. Maybe Greg put up a better like negotiation in the interview process. Maybe there could be like a million explanations for this. Maybe Greg makes a certain amount of, maybe he makes $31,000 annually more than OP, but like maybe he doesn't get other things, other benefits. Maybe there's a million things and pieces of context that we don't have here. So let's move on because we have another update. I need to stop hitting the table. We have another update. Let's see. Oh, wait. This was posted today. I'm like, wait, what day is it? April 22nd, 2026, 1 week later. People wanted an update. Here it is. I talked to my manager after all your encouraging comments. Also, Ting Ting is in this one, I promise. Thank God. A few of you said bring documentation. See, like, what are these? I feel like the comments on Reddit are really steering this person in the wrong way, but that's neither here nor there. A few of you said bring documentation, so I brought the job posting from when Greg got hired. I rehearsed in the car and then again in the elevator. I walked into my manager's office, and the first thing out of my mouth was, I think I'm underpaid, like I was confessing a crime. Technically a conversation starter, but not the energy I was going for. See, like, this has to be like a really young or just weird, bold person. I don't know. This is odd. That's odd. I think that's something that we can all agree on. You don't just walk into your manager, I think I'm underpaid. Like, that's weird. My manager did the slow nod, you know the one. Then she said, I appreciate you bringing this to me, and let's make sure we're aligned on your growth trajectory. I've been hearing the phrase growth trajectory for years. I do not know what it means. I have never been on a trajectory. I've been on a salary. I nodded like I understood. Like, is this real? He doesn't even know what trajectory means. I'm not saying, like, I know it's not coming out right, but it's fine. Trajectory. That's tough. I pointed out I'm sitting at the bottom of the range and the role is identical to Greg's. She said compensation is based on experience, market conditions, and budget at time of hire, which means Greg got hired when there was money and I got hired when there wasn't. I have been financially penalized for showing up first. Cool. She said she'd look into it and circle back. That was last week. She has circled somewhere, not back. I left her office and Greg was in the break room and I don't know what happened, but I walked straight in and said, why did you leave your PDF like that? You should have started there, buddy. I did not rehearse that part. I'm not sure where it came from. He looked at me for a long time and then he started laughing and then he said, Ting Ting told me to. Okay. Ting Ting. Ting Ting, the 5 p.m. woman, the person I mentioned one time in my last post and then completely forgot to bring up again. She told Greg to leave it open. I said, what? And Greg said, she noticed you were spiraling. She said, show him the numbers and he'll figure it out. I stood there for a while after that. My brain was trying to build a new tab for this information and running out of columns. How much does Ting Ting make? I said. Greg said, more than me. A lot more. She's been here longer than both of us. She knows. She knows. I went back to my desk and sat there staring at Greg data, the evidence tab, the day of the week column, all of it. Weeks of tracking one man, and the whole time Ting Ting was running the show. I opened a new column out of habit and closed it. I don't know why I did that. I'm not healed. Why is he like the OP is like the most unlikable but somehow likable person? I don't know how that works. And then it's 5 p.m. Ting Ting walks past my desk. She walks past my desk every single day. She has never once looked at me. Today she looked at me. 1 second, direct. Then she was gone. I sat there for a while after that. I spent weeks building a spreadsheet about a guy who was trying to help me. Meanwhile, the quietest person in the office set the whole thing up, and I didn't even notice because she leaves at 5, and I thought that was her whole personality. It's not her whole personality. I don't know what her whole personality is. I don't think I've earned that yet. Greg stuck his head over the partition and said, "You good?" I said, "Ting Ting is the most powerful person in this office." He said, "I know." I renamed the evidence tab. It says, Ting Ting was here. I think that's the right name. I don't know how my manager is going to come back on Friday, but I know Ting Ting is a legend and I owe both of them a lot more than a spreadsheet. This first comment, why is OP handling this like a serial killer? I mean, honestly, this is crazy. This had so many twists and turns to it. I just wasn't sure. And then someone says, I can hear the psychotic voiceover as he works on this spreadsheet. I feel like I read this with like a maniacal tone to my voice because that's how it felt reading it. So that was funny. At least we got 2 updates out of it. I mean, don't be like OP though. I strongly just disagree with the way he went about things. But I think maybe, listen, if that works for him, maybe the people who he works with know he's a Looney Tune and they have to play his game or they want to play his game. Maybe it's fun for them to play the game. I don't know, but it was an entertaining read. So 10 out of 10. Thank you so much. Okay, moving on. Our next story comes from r/am I the jerk? Am I the jerk? Okay, wait, I want to restart that. Oh my God. Okay, moving on. Our next story comes from Am I the Jerk? Subreddit. Am I the jerk for saying people shouldn't fund my sister's IVF? Throwaway account. My younger sister Taylor met her now husband, Richard, 4 years ago while she was on vacation. She was going through a rough time because her ex was cheating on her, so she took the trip to reflect. She met Richard, who was there for his friend's second wedding without his wife, and yes, he was married at the time. Shame, shame, Richard. When they met, she was 29 and he was 57. In fact, his kids are closer to Taylor's age than he is. They had an affair for a while, then Richard's wife found out and they got divorced. My sister and Richard eventually eloped. My parents and I were very against the relationship at first, but we all realized that if we wanted to continue opposing it, she might cut us off. It's her life, so we chose to support her. My sister is educated and now has a good job. Richard was a travel agent at the time and is now retired. He had a vasectomy many years ago after his last child. He later had a reversal after marrying my sister, but they still need IVF to have a baby. They're not struggling financially. They travel often and seem comfortable. However, my sister recently started a GoFundMe titled, Help Us Make Our Dream Come True to Cover IVF Costs. And she posted it in the family group chat and on her social media. I commented in the group chat that if they are struggling financially to the point of needing a GoFundMe, maybe they should cut back on the trips or reconsider having a baby. I said they shouldn't expect others to fund their treatment. She responded that they are not struggling, but they don't have a lump sum of money, and that doesn't mean she doesn't deserve to be a mom. Later, my mom called and said I'm under no obligation to help, but that my comment was uncalled for. Was I the a-hole? Absolutely not. The audacity to not only create a GoFundMe, are you even allowed? I guess you could probably create. I think the only thing like you're not allowed to have a GoFundMe for is like fraudulent things or like if you're lying under the guise of a tragedy or something. So I guess if you're honest and say, hey, if anyone wants to help fund my IVF treatments and people do want to help fund that, then I guess you're well within your rights. Okay. Is there a tacky button? Like I'm sorry, but that's crazy. Especially if I still think it's hot take. I still think it's tacky, even if you don't have the money for IVF, to post a GoFundMe looking for money. I still think that's tacky, absolutely absurd, but I get it. But I could see it. I might even donate. I mean, I get it. You're desperate at that point, and really, I would just take pity. Like I would want to help, not take pity. That's a shitty way to say that, but I would want to. At that point, it would be a little bit different circumstances. But when you are going on trips and you have money and you're capable and you're well off, he's retired, yada yada, and now you want me to no. I mean, you're not asking people. You're not. It's voluntary. GoFundMe is voluntary. But that's a really tacky thing to do. We'll leave it at that. The best part about this story is we have an update. So let me click it. Update on Am I the Jerk for commenting on my sister's GoFundMe for IVF? Okay, since people asked for updates, so far she collected about $800. I have a feeling my mom donated too, but not directly via GoFundMe. Apparently, my dad told her straight up to be prepared to be a single mom since he won't be able to be around or help raise the kid. He's older than my dad. Now my sister's mad at both of us and neither of us are apologizing. My mom thinks we should just keep our comments to ourselves. No one, okay. Let me not be too critical. Who is somebody to really say, like, you can't love someone because they're both like consenting adults. Like they're well into like I don't know what she was, 29. So like she's 29, he's 57. They're well consenting adults. This is not even like a 20-year-old and 40-year-old. I'm not doing the math. We're just going to round up. But 20 and 40 is still, in my personal opinion, that's predatory because a 20-year-old is not an adult. A 40-year-old is should be at least, a much more of an adult than a 20-year-old. And what do you actually have in common with a 20-year-old at that point? Like it's weird. And if you do have things in common, I mean, I don't know if that's better or worse, honestly. I don't know. I don't want to get too judgy or offend people because every situation truly is different and context matters. Like I'm speaking specifically to the way that this post is phrased. The sister sounds tacky or devil's advocate. She's 29 and there's a lot of pressure when you're this age as a woman. I'm 30. I'm not 29 anymore, but I'm 30. There's a lot of pressure at this age. So maybe she just like met someone that she was willing to settle for and she just wants a family, and for that, I do have sympathy. Like it's really hard to read these stories and make no one's telling me to make harsh judgments. I don't need to, but I do feel like I'm just reading these and giving my opinion so I can kind of bounce back and forth here a little bit. I see it both sides. Would I do it? Absolutely not. Would I put up a GoFundMe? Absolutely not. But not everybody's you. And honestly, reading these stories, it's like therapeutic doing this because it makes me stop and think of like more perspectives and be more understanding to things, to people. This is a win for all of us, if you ask me. But that was the update. So, but then like I try to be positive. I try to give like these Redditors the benefit of the doubt. And then it's like, but wait, you totally co-signed him cheating on his wife and you were cool with that. Now I gotta like backtrack again. I gotta backpedal. Yeah, and someone said, like, I get wanting a kid badly and, like, wanting a family, but asking family and strangers to fund something like that when you're not actually struggling is gonna always rub people wrong. Yeah, it's pretty bold. It's pretty bold. I mean, I wish her well. I hope she gets her little baby that she wants, and I hope they live a happy life, but I don't think that should be at the expense of other people. I just don't. But then again, I guess it's also a voluntary GoFundMe. Like people don't have to donate. But I will say, I'm sorry. I'm going to say one more thing. If my like close friend, sister, best friend put up a GoFundMe for their IVF and I didn't donate, how do you look now? You kind of have to donate or you look like an a-hole. Then you're the a-hole, right? I don't know. Food for thought. Moving on. Okay, our next story says, it's still from Best of Reddit Updates. My wife is a stay-at-home mom and has racked up $17K of debt in the past 11 months behind my back. My male 30, wife female 30, is a stay-at-home mom to our 2 kids, 2 years and 8 months. So a 2-year-old and 8-month-old. I'm military and have been gone for most of the past year, and things have been pretty rocky. She's brought up divorce in our last fight. She's been a stay-at-home mom for about 2.5 years now, and I've been okay with that since I've made enough to make ends meet. We have a joint bank account, and recently, ever since I got back, money has been tight. I saw her walking upstairs with a pen and paper, and since this is unusual for her, I asked what that was for. And she replied, just for finances. Since I'm the sole provider, I was interested what for, and she said it was for her credit card debt. I asked how much she had, and she said $17,000. Ma'am. My jaw about hit the floor. When I asked on what, she couldn't give me a straight answer, but if it was anything like her past, it's just random junk from TJ Maxx, thrift stores, or Target. Okay, so he's assuming. She didn't admit that. The past 3 months, we've overdrawn our checking account every month because of her impulse purchases. Every time I bring it up, she gets very defensive and ends up being a fight. Backstory. Last summer, I consolidated our credit card debt into a $32,000 loan with a lower interest rate and have been making payments on that ever since. We both had 2 credit cards. We agreed to freeze one and only use one each. She never froze the one and continued to use both cards. This is like worse than cheating, I feel. I don't, or maybe not worse, but this is a form of cheating. I'm military and left for 8 months, and she went and stayed at my parents' where most groceries were taken care of with the exception of baby formula, so I couldn't see the daily spending habits. My parents said there were boxes of Amazon packages nearly every day, though. I feel betrayed. I'm mad. I don't know what to think right now. Am I wrong to feel like she needs to get a part/full-time job and get separate bank accounts? I would obviously cover bills and expenses, but I don't know how to correct her financial problem. We basically break even as is. Help. Some of the comments. She needs to go into the workforce. And this comment I would maybe roll my eyes at, but like, no. I think she needs money, clearly. She needs to work because now she has $17,000 of credit card debt that's just gonna grow and grow month after month. Like that $17,000 is gonna be a lot more than that very soon, number one. Number two, she needs to stay busy. So she needs to go to work instead of shop on Amazon, if you ask me. I'm not like trying to be too harsh. I'm not, but I just feel like there's no excuse for that. There's an update. Last night, I told her I didn't want to speak to her about this because I don't want to say something out of emotion and say something I don't mean, and I get this as a response. She says, the wife, go ahead and say what you want because you're clearly thinking it. I know I don't work. I know I don't make money, and I'm sorry for that. I'm the one to blame. I will go to work. I have no problem with that. Then help me find a daycare and finish applying for the childcare. I've done a lot in this, and you haven't been any help with it. These are our kids, and this part of it isn't easy. Everyone in this world has debt, unfortunately. I'm not proud of it, but it's something that doesn't just go away in a few years as much as we would like it to. OP says, I don't know what's more frustrating/disturbing, our financial situation or her casualness and lack of responsibility/ownership for putting us in this situation. I make the most I ever have in my life right now, and yet this is the most upside down I am in debt. Unreal. Okay. While I feel for her, like maybe, okay, let's back it up. Like it didn't say that he's deployed. He's just in the military. So regardless, really. She has 2 young kids. She is 2 under 2. She's a 2-year-old and an 8-month-old. So basically, she's 30 years old. So she's young. She's a stay-at-home mom. That can't be easy, especially if that's maybe not what she necessarily like wants or realizes that she does. I don't know. That could be rough. I just want to say I'm not a mom. Like I keep saying this in like multiple of my videos because I don't want to come off like I'm judging or thinking a certain way as a parent because I'm not. So this is just me thinking out loud. So I'll give her a little bit of grace in some respects, but I got lost when he already consolidated $32,000 of credit card debt. I mean, $17,000 is crazy. That's not. I'm not excusing that anyway, regardless of the $32,000. But she is taking this man broke. I mean, and herself. But like, he's the one working and has the money to actually pay for these things. She is taking them to the poorhouse. And the worst part, you have 2 children. Why are you not thinking of your kids' future and what your children, and like maybe she's buying them things. Okay, fine. But you need to be able to like put a roof over their head. And when you're putting yourselves in $32,000 of consolidated credit card debt and now another $17,000 of debt, are you going to be able to put a roof over your kid's head and pay for groceries at some point? Like, this is going to get worse. And it doesn't sound like you guys, but like, he's in the military. They're not million, like, they don't make a ton of money. Or maybe whatever. Regardless, this is a lot of friggin' credit card debt. And a consolidated loan, I'm just wondering what the interest rates are. Like, that's all I can think about when it comes to stuff like this, because it's like you're going from like the fire to the fryer in a lot of those situations. So like, are they in 50K debt or a lot more, you know? It's just, she needs to go to work. She needs a full-time job. She needs to keep herself occupied so she stays off of friggin' Amazon, because that's not doing you guys any good. I mean, oh wait, there's another update. Oh, I didn't even know that. Okay, 6 months later. I wish I can say, first of all, thank this guy for his service. This is terrible. Update 6 months later. I wish I can say things have gotten better, but they haven't. After discovering how much debt she had accumulated over those last 11 months. Also, 11 months. I like lost sight of that, I think, before. She did all of this in 11 months. No. And after discovering how much debt she had accumulated over those last 11 months and having our joint bank account overdrawn 4 consecutive months, this is just irresponsible. You're a parent, especially. This is irresponsible. I opened a separate bank account to start rebuilding our finances. I give her $200 every 2 weeks, which is $400 monthly, to spend however she liked. I transferred all bills, insurance, and payments of any kind to withdraw from my separate account. I started doing all the grocery shopping. We had a serious sit-down conversation about her re-entering the workforce, but picking up a part-time job to start paying towards her debt. And she hated the idea of going back to work because that's not what the plan was when we first had kids. The original plan was for her to be a stay-at-home mom until our 2 kids, 2 and 1, started going to school. She went through 3 jobs in 3 weeks, quitting hours before her shift through text. I was trying to take over her life and controlling. So I guess she was telling him that. She's found a new job since November, and she works 10 hours a week. They have jobs that you can do that? That's crazy. We've started going to therapy in November as well. Therapist said this was a classic case of financial infidelity. I said that. And she compares it to cheating, but with a credit card. She refuses to do our couple's homework with this because she says it's pointless and doesn't see the point in it despite me expressing my desires to. She told her parents about the situation, how I made a separate bank account from her and that I'm financially abusive to her. I walked into a conversation my mother-in-law was having with the mail lady about me. Like the mail lady that delivers your mail. And I can honestly say they no longer like me. She's picked up on her drinking and finished a box wine in 2 days, regardless of the day. A couple times when she was drunk, she's brought up how nice it would be if we moved back to Indiana, but can't because of my job. Oh, so now that's the resentment. She resents you. That's what this is. Conversations between my wife and I are cold. Basically, outside of the kids, and once they go to bed, she goes upstairs and closes the door. She despises the idea of having 2 separate accounts and regularly threatens how she will not be with someone who has separate bank accounts. Recently and currently, I was put on a 3-month tour overseas and she quit her job, quit therapy, packed up her stuff and the kids' stuff, and went back to Indiana until I come back. Things have gotten so unbelievably messy. Oh, this is sad. Can you imagine fighting for your country overseas and you're also worrying about your like that? I just can't. I don't want to get into that. So some of the comments that OP has responded to, someone says she needs to go into the workforce. OP says, I agree, since all the debt is in her name with her cards. I'm thinking separate accounts, and she solely uses her money to pay off debt. I don't know how that works, being married, like husband, wife. I'm not really sure, but I hope that works for him. Someone else says, you should keep an eye on that. If she can't be trusted not to rack up debt when she has no job, what makes you think she will actually pay off her debt, which is now 50% yours? More than likely, since you're married, depending on your state. Yeah, it definitely depends on the state. In the event you get divorced, not that you said it was an option at this point, just make sure you're not screwed. That's financial infidelity. OP says, got it. Thank you. And thankfully, my state is not one of them. I checked. Yeah, that's this was a really sad one. I don't like sad updates. I like good updates. I like updates that make me go like, yeah, I'm so glad we have one. Ugh, that's terrible. I don't love that for them. Moving on. All right. Do I have time for one more? No, I don't. But did I just find, like, I think a really good story? Yeah, I did. So I have to read it. Okay. This is the last story. And I just want to thank everybody, if you're still watching. Thank you so much. Like, just for even watching. I don't even know how long we are into this, but thank you so much. Please don't forget to like and subscribe and share it with somebody if you think like you want to yap about it with a friend. But I really appreciate you for watching. Okay, moving on. Let's get on to the story. This is still from the best of Redditor updates. Duh. That's why it's just a good one. I had to read it. I only skimmed. So this is originally from Today I Effed Up subreddit, maybe? I don't know. Kind of seems like that. Yeah, Today I Effed Up. I thought a cute guy was ghosting me, only to find out I was actually ghosting him. Okay. This post was originally posted August 4th, 2022, for context. I was at a party 2 weeks ago where I only knew 2 people. When in walks this guy who immediately gave me this really big smile, and I thought he was so gorgeous. We ended up talking in the same circle, and he introduces himself. We started chatting and quickly find the circle around us has disappeared and it's just us. Rom-com, love it. He is so smart. His smile is outrageously cute, and I love how he seems laser focused on me instead of one of the many attractive women in the room that have now joined the party and are talking about their cool Raya dates. For context, for anybody who is watching and doesn't know what Raya is, it's like a celebrity-ish dating app. Like you have to have some sort of status, like influencer or certain follower count, probably. I don't know what the criteria is, but just to give you like the gist of what that is, okay? It's not like for the average folk, like me and you probably, okay? And I mean that in the most loving way possible. We don't want to be on that app. As the night wore on, I found myself talking to various groups, but each time this guy would appear again and we'd end up just talking to each other. Sometimes someone who neither of us knew came up and said we made an attractive couple, and I realized how somehow in the span of 2 hours we were already acting like a couple. It wasn't just being sexually attracted to him. I felt so comfortable around him and he was so attentive to my needs. I told him offhand I had allergies to the dog at the party. Hours later, when I started sneezing, he immediately knew why and moved us outside. His smile was the only thing that immediately caught my attention, but it was the thoughtfulness that made it. At the end of the night, we catch an Uber to home together and end up kissing. Before the Uber drops him off, I give my number. Sunday comes, don't hear from him. Okay, I get it. We both got home at 4 a.m. and I too just want to sleep the day away. Monday comes, silence. Tuesday, even more silence. I know I've read how it is uncool to text a girl immediately because you want to seem super cool and wanted, but we're both in our mid-30s, and realized these mind games are bullshit. If you like someone, text them when you can. Life is too short to be with people half interested in you. Wednesday comes and I'm a mixture of angry and over it and insecure all at the same time. How dare he lead me on like this? Well, I guess I'm glad I only wasted one night on this a-hole. Was I not pretty enough? All these thoughts raced through my head and turned into me typing his name into work into Google to see if I can find him. Turns out he was incredibly easy to find. I was planning on just looking at him because I missed his face, but I accidentally clicked a link that brought me to his LinkedIn page. Now he'll know that I stalked him, which made me feel even worse. I probably looked crazy. So if anybody who doesn't know, when you go on LinkedIn, I'm pretty sure in all cases, I don't know if you can turn it off, but it tells you who views your profile. Well, since I was already on his page, I guess I'd look at where he'd worked. Maybe he wasn't really interesting and I'd feel better about him ghosting me. Nope, turns out he is not only very smart, but also humble because his resume listed a dozen different cool jobs. Impressive schools he's attended, things he's worked on. Great, I probably wasn't impressive enough for him. Girl. Not 30 minutes later, he friends me on LinkedIn, but he seemed surprised that I was reaching out. He had evidently texted me that night and again the next day, only to not hear anything back. I had ghosted him. And this is how we found out my F up. When I gave him my number, turns out I was off by a digit. Turns out tipsy me, isn't so great at typing or proofreading. If I hadn't been a creepy LinkedIn stalker, it could have been months, if ever, before we would have ever seen each other again. Right now, we're laughing about it and setting up our real first date. Wish me luck, Reddit. We're on updates, so there better be a good one. Some of the comments, can't believe sliding into someone's LinkedIn DMs actually worked. This story is straight up wholesome. Hope it works out. If it does, you're going to have an amazing story to tell down the road. Yeah, you will. Especially, it's so meant to be at that point because you gave out the wrong number. One comment says, my wife and I met at a bar. We got to talking and lost track of time and everyone else. Hours went by, and as her friends finally came and drag her away, she wrote her phone number on my hand. My dumbass didn't think to write it down somewhere else, so the next morning when I looked down at the palm of my hand, the numbers were smeared enough where I could only make out 4 of the 7 clearly. So I got to dialing. Took me a while, but I finally got her. It took me long enough that she didn't think I was going to call. It all worked out though. We've been together now for 31 years and married for 29. I love these stories. That's so cute. And that was just a comment on this post. But we have an update, so let's read the update. So sorry. This update is it's 1 year later from the original post. So this is August 17th, 2023. A year ago, I met a cute guy at a party, accidentally giving him the wrong phone number, and then found him again on LinkedIn. The last post stopped at the point where I had now given my correct phone number. We decided for our first date to walk around a park near the city and then grab a drink. I was anxious as soon as the date was set. Besides the normal first date jitters, I also carried the secret that I had posted the story of how I reconnected with him on Reddit. Some 35,000 people have upvoted it. Thousands more had seen it. I needed to tell him about the Reddit post, but I was scared of how he would react. He probably already thought I was weird for looking him up on LinkedIn. No, girl, I think you like that. I had no idea if he would see me posting our story to Reddit as a breach of his privacy or attention seeking or just plain weird. Fair. The day of our date, I waited for him by a park fountain. When I saw him walking towards me, my heart skipped. I got made fun of in my last post for how much I complimented this guy's smile, and I don't even care. Seeing him smile made me immediately happier. It also made me even more worried that I had messed up even the possibility of becoming a thing by posting our story for the world to see. We walked around the park and sat to talk under a pair of trees. It was a beautiful day, late summer. I found myself holding his hand. Slowly, we headed to the nearby bar, and by this time I was shaking. When I got my drink in my hand, I took a few sips and the words tumbled out. I thought our reconnection was so funny, so I posted it to Reddit. I had gotten maybe 20 upvotes on anything I'd ever posted before this, so I expected much of the same. Then I started to get dozens of notifications from hundreds of people commenting on the post. A friend sent me the post because they thought I'd enjoy it. My sister called and asked if I had written it because she recognized my writing style. A newspaper article wrote about it. A newspaper had written an article about it. The post had taken a life of its own. Then I showed him the Reddit post. He read it quietly. When he was done, he stood up, he came over and gave me a kiss. With that, I breathed the biggest sigh of relief. I learned he uses Reddit and thought the post was sweet. The rest of the date, we read the comments together and laughed about the whole thing. Later that week, he came over to my apartment and we cooked dinner and talked some more. Our conversation turned to the fact that neither of us casually liked dating multiple people at once. We didn't exactly know what this was yet, but we knew we already liked each other. With that, it seemed like we were dating. The first few weeks of dating sped by, filled with apple picking, hiking, and many soup dumplings. I learned at late night karaoke that he has a beautiful singing voice, and he learned that I definitely did not. LOL. I told a friend later that we were dating, and she asked, "Yes, but is he your boyfriend?" Evidently, in this new world of constant casualness, you could be monogamously dating just for the fun of it, but becoming a boyfriend or girlfriend meant you saw this person as someone really important. In previous relationships, I had felt like I was supposed to wait until the guy said he wanted to be with me, and it would look desperate to say I love you before the guy did. This relationship felt different. There was no feeling that he was waiting to text me back to look cooler or more unavailable. There was no avoidance of talk about the future. It just felt like two people that were enjoying learning about each other, which in turn made me feel comfortable being open and honest with him. So after 6 weeks of dating, but maybe not being my boyfriend, I wrote my feelings down on a card and asked him to be my official boyfriend, and he accepted. You go, girl. The rest of the year has been filled with adventures to foreign places where I proceeded to get us lost twice. In a place after dark with no streetlights. Still sorry about that one, babe. And many trips to the grocery store that were thankfully a little less tumultuous. We danced late into the night at concerts and cuddled in bed watching TV. We'd just finished Avatar: The Last Airbender, the animated series. I've fallen asleep on his chest to the sound of the pattering rain. My last thoughts at the brink of sleep that I have never felt so safe. I've woken up next to him and looked over at his face that looks so young and relaxed in sleep. But the hair that falls over his face has already some gray in it. Seeing it fills me with sadness that our time together on this planet is finite. Over the last year, he has shown in 1,000 small ways that he is not only a great boyfriend, but a thoughtful and caring son. My friends and family love him, and that makes me love him all the more. He always makes me feel heard and seen, and he builds me up in a way that makes me feel like the best version of myself around him. He is brilliant and competent at his job, which is sexy as hell. He's serious enough to have his finances in order, but will still let loose and do silly dance moves with me while we're cooking breakfast. He is very clean, so I never have once felt like I shouldered the burden of housekeeping. I'm actually messier than him, and I've put a lot of effort into being cleaner out of respect. Not once has he raised his voice, and throughout the whole year, I don't think we've gotten into an argument. This relationship feels healthy, happy, and calm. I got a few comments from my last post. Looking up someone on LinkedIn when they haven't texted is crazy. Please know that if he had turned me down on LinkedIn, I would have respected this and not contacted him further. It is just within a few hours of meeting this man, he felt inexplicably important in my life. I'm glad I trusted my gut and to try and find him. This last part is to my boyfriend who wanted to be surprised by what I wrote. Over the last year, you have become my favorite person and my best friend. I am so grateful that I met you and grateful for each day I get to wake up next to you. I can't wait to see what this next year brings for us. I love you very much. Too long, don't read. We're dating. Okay. Oh man, that was cute. Oh wait, there's another update. This one is much shorter, I promise. Hey there, my fiance, actually already asked the question, but we didn't want to tell others until I have a ring. It's totally my fault since I am both picky and indecisive, so I'm hoping you'll help me. I don't know. Did I say 2 years later? It's 2 years later, if I didn't say that. If I did, it's 2 years later. She puts the wants for her for her engagement ring. That's great. She's looking for a jeweler. People help her with a jeweler. Then she's just they're talking jewelry stuff. I don't think we really care about that. We wanted to read that story, but very cute. I love that. I mean, it was definitely a too long don't read kind of story, like the end part, but I'm glad I read it because it was cute. We are after all on Reddit. So here we go. That was nice. I mean, sometimes you just got to shoot your shot. Yeah, you just got to shoot your shot. That's it. But that's all I have for today. I am all out for today. That was a lot of fun though. These were some really good stories. I thank you. If you've watched this long, thank you so much. Like actually, thank you so much. And I have to ask you to please like and subscribe, whatever. And I'm going to have more. And if you have any suggestions for like any other subreddits to look through or whatever, please let me know. I'm still kind of new to this. So I appreciate any suggestions, and I'll see you next time. Have a good night. Bye.